Do you need to see all the other Alien movies to enjoy this?
Not
Cool.
at all. But if you have, there are a ton of things in this movie that you'll be like, "Ooh, what, ha." Especially with the end and the new version of the xenomorph ties back directly to one of the other films. But you don't need to know that. But you might be like, "Why does that xenomorph look so weird?"
YUNKJunk!
Hold on. No, I lost. Sorry, I didn't finish my Marvel Snap round. Hi, what's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the mother-loving geek nation? Welcome to the holy hell. JD is kind of all by his onesies tonight. CultPop episode 90, a show where I'll monologue about movies and TV and comics and anxiety and all the other things that scratch that sweet, dirty, nerdy itch. I'm coming to you live from YUNKJunk HQ.
YUNKJunk.
A bomb-ass podcast production space in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Manayunk. I'm your host, JD of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA 19127, a rad-ass comic shop that caters to rad-ass folks just like you, so get on in here and give me yo money. With me tonight to talk is, I was going to say no one, but Alice is here. Can they see Alice?
They sure can.
There's Alice.
Am I being seen? Hi, I'm here.
They're
Kind of.
They're acknowledging your presence.
Hi.
Let's see. Yeah, with me tonight is Alice, because Alice went to Greece and then licked every surface until she got COVID. That's how it went down, I assume?
That's exactly what happened. How did you know? Were you there too?
I put a little camera on you. You make loud poops. Also in the booth is our trusty producer, Dylan. Hey, Dylan, I have a question.
Hey, what up?
If anyone's watching or listening wants to know about YUNKJunk HQ, YUNKJunk, the space and services, where can they inquire?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, JD, because they can inquire at that email right at the bottom of that nasty screen and email me and let me know if you want to make a podcast, and we'll make a podcast and it'll be great, good fun. I don't know if you all have seen, but we do the show here in YUNKJunk HQ, YUNKJunk, and Dylan will then make shorts. He will take our content that we do live, and then he'll just make 2 shorts a week for us, and then we just plop them on TikTok or YouTube or I don't know, Instagram stories, wherever people put stuff. And it's really cool. It's one of my favorite things about YUNKJunk. So yeah, it's very cool.
It is a lot of fun. I feel famous every time it happens.
Right? And your short did the best.
Which one?
Remember it was the one about the MTV.
Oh, the MTV reality. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The one topic we never ever discuss on this show blew up because it was about MTV reality shows. God damn it. So speaking of the chat, which I haven't brought up yet, Christopher saying saucy goodnight's in there. I automatically assume everyone that gets Greece, that goes to Greece licks doorknobs because I haven't gotten it once.
Maybe he meant everyone that gets COVID licks doorknobs.
Oh, I see. Yes. That makes sense. I want to thank you for being here live. Get down there in the chat. You can also email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com, just like Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight did. We have a couple of emails, I think. This one says, and I love this. I love this. If you guys ever have an idea for what we should talk about on this show, email us and just ask, because we are susceptible to suggestion. Next week's episode should be about ... Blink Twice and Strange Darling. Never seen 2 automatic 5-star movies back to back that started off with me rolling my eyes before. But by the time I was finished, I was like, everyone needs to see these. Chris St. Saucy Goodnight. I don't know anything about Blink Twice or Strange Darling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've heard those words in that order before, but I don't know anything about the films themselves.
Blink Twice is the one that's directed by Zoe Kravitz and stars Channing Tatum. and it looks really good.
So is Channing Tatum being like a jerk? Like
Yeah.
a creeper?
From the trailer, yes.
Nice. All right. I'd like to see him do something like that. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's Strange Darling? Have you heard of that?
That one I don't know.
Yeah. I will tell you, Chris, that I have a 3-year-old and I can rarely get to 2 movies in 1 week. So maybe one of those will be our next movie. Avoid everything and see them tomorrow night. Okay. And he emailed us again, which I have in my little note app here. Okay. So he emailed us about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is a graphic novel from Tom King and Bilquis Evely from DC Comics. It is going to be one of the big projects that James Gunn is spearheading for the new DCU, set of movies and shows and what have you. So he's going to be adapting Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And Chris says, fun fact, I'm reading Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow in prep for the movie that's supposedly based on the book, and I gotta say, I kind of hate it. The premise for the creation of the book is flawed. In the preface, Tom King says he created it because his daughter wondered to him, what happens when a Kryptonian is near a green sun? But when you get to that chapter, you found out someone built this place as a trap for Cal. A green sun, kryptonite, and a world of monsters. Is she saying they built the sun out of green kryptonite? He isn't weakened by kryptonite because it's green. He's weakened because it's part of his home planet and the radiation of it reverts him to his physical state there. Unless Krypton has a green sun, and I've suppressed that knowledge. Just Googled. Nope, it's red. Halfway. I love that his emails are just like he's just dictating what he's doing, and then the computer just types it for him, I assume. Halfway through this book, I realized it's just True Grit with Supergirl. It's not even an original concept. Anyone want a $50 hardback only read once but despised forever? I'll cut you a deal. Seriously though, if this is the basis for Supergirl and All-Star Superman is the basis for Superman, then I'm gonna hate the new DCU as much as I hated the old DCU. I consider that a feature, not a bug. The fact that it is True Grit. Yes, it is not a original theme for a story, but it makes it very easy. Like, oh, hey, you should check this out. It's like True Grit if a Supergirl was in it. So it's just like a quick elevator pitch to get people to understand what it is. And so for anyone who doesn't know, True Grit is a novel and then was a Western and then was remade about 10 or 15 years ago, starring Jeff Bridges. And it's wonderful and delightful. Oh, and Hallie Steinfeld, is that her name? Hawkeye? Yes. Kate Bishop? She's in it. That's like one of her first roles, and she's amazing in it. And her dad gets murdered. She hires a drunken old cowboy to help her get revenge on the man who murdered her dad. And it's this sort of, are they called, I guess they're not road movies if they're on horses. But it's a Western where he goes to kill this murderer. And this is the exact same plot for Supergirl, except it's on a intergalactic scale. So I love the story. And also, with regard to the green sun, I guess they say it's a green sun, but I'm assuming because it's affecting Superman in such a way, it's not just because it's a green sun. It's because it is irradiating a very similar sort of radiation that affects Kryptonians in that way, right? So like it's a sun that spews forth that sort of radiation, even though it's not technically kryptonite. That was sort of my take on that scene. Alice, have you read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow?
No, I haven't, but I am a fan of Tom King. I liked I read Batcat by him.
Oh yeah, Batman.
Very
Catwoman.
much enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I highly recommend. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is one of my favorite graphic novels. I love it. I highly recommend.
I'll check it out. I still have to read the Wonder Woman one you got me. I'm looking at it, but I can't read.
Another Tom King?
I don't think it's Tom King, which I forget who wrote that one.
Brian
and of course,
Azzarello?
I can't read it from here.
There's one by Brian Azzarello. I also really like.
That one.
So anyway, thank you so much for emailing us, saying saucy good night. Let's see, what do we do now? I'm all by myself. I'm here. This is it's like talking to Max Headroom. Grandkids, ask your grandparents what Max Headroom was. Hey, Cult Poppers, what's poppin' is the round of the show that I like to ask my friends what has been poppin' this week. Alice, besides going to Greece and having a miraculous time, I'm assuming.
I did.
It was great. And then licking all the doorknobs and getting COVID. What else have you been up to this week? What was poppin'?
So it's a very long plane ride to and from Greece. Thankfully, to Greece, I slept most of the way, but coming back, I was wide awake and I was watching everything I could on the plane.
What service did you use? Was this something that was like through the plane, or did you just like have stuff downloaded? Yeah. Okay.
A little TV on the seat in front of me. I was playing around with. I watched Scream, of course. I always do whenever I get the chance. But after Scream, I watched the documentary David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. So for anyone who isn't familiar, David Holmes was Daniel Radcliffe's main stuntman during all of Harry Potter, up until the second to last movie, Deathly Hallows Part 1, where he was severely injured in a stunt and he broke his neck and has been paralyzed since. And he is very, very good friends with Daniel Radcliffe and the two other stuntmen who were also Daniel's stuntmen. And this documentary was so good. It was, I don't know, it made me cry multiple times for different reasons. Obviously there were sad parts, but then there were also like funny, uplifting parts. And it was just so good. He's such an interesting and cool person. And he just seems like the kind of guy that would just be really, really cool to hang out with and chat with. And one of my favorite things about human beings is when someone's been passionate about something since they were a little kid. And that's him with like gymnastics and stunt work. And even though this awful, unfair thing happened to him, he still finds ways to keep that in his life. Like he has a podcast about it. He still like goes to the gym that he went to as a kid and did gymnastics and like gives like talks to them about getting into stunt work and getting into the film industry. And he's just a really, really cool guy. But something I also appreciated about this documentary is it didn't sugarcoat things, because it wasn't like, oh, see, he's still happy and fine. There were some parts where it was hard to watch. He was like, this is the worst. I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. I just highly recommend it to everyone, even if you're not super into Harry Potter, which I also just want to say I don't like J.K. Rowling. Yeah. I'm not.
What a shame that we always have to preface things now by like, hey,
I know,
listen.
it sucks.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I don't
like,
suck
I get
as a
it.
person.
Yeah. David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. And is that streaming? It's where?
HBO. It's an HBO Max, but I think like depending on your subscription, you can find it on Hulu or Prime. Okay, if you have like a premium subscription.
Nice. I had never heard of it until you told me earlier that that's what you were going to be talking about tonight. And so I went and watched the trailer for it, and I got verklempt just watching the trailer.
Yeah.
So what a bummer.
There's a beautiful moment towards the end where he goes back to the hospital room that he was in for a very long time right after the accident. And the room's empty. And he's like, I remember the guy who was in that bed over there. He was attacked in a terrorist attack and he was also paralyzed. And like, I remember thinking, I got paralyzed doing something I love. So I was luckier than he was. And he's like, I experienced a lot of trauma in this room, but this is also where one of my best friends told me he was engaged. This is where Dan came to visit me and we played a stupid game and it made me laugh super hard. And they're intercutting this with like footage of those events. Oh, wow. And I was just bawling. I was like,
I'm feeling it so just hearing emotional. You retelling it to me. Yeah, that's awful.
No, it was this genuinely one of the coolest guys I've like seen a documentary about. He just seems like a cool dude I want to sit down and have a drink with.
Nice.
So does Daniel Radcliffe. I do want to say that too.
He seems awesome.
Him. And not just because I loved Harry Potter growing up, but like he's such a cool, like, anything Daniel Radcliffe's in, I'm gonna watch.
It's funny.
So fun to watch.
I like Daniel Radcliffe, but I didn't really start liking him until all of the projects he did after Harry Potter. He has made, I don't know if it's just because if he's just like that kind of chill, or if it's I've made so much money on Harry Potter that it doesn't really matter what I do.
Yeah.
But like he'll just pick the weirdest, like
Yes.
Guns Akimbo.
It's one of my favorites.
Horns.
It's so good.
Horns. Yeah, Joe Hill adaptation Horns, which is another movie I love. And
Swiss Army Man. Or
Swiss Army Man. I was trying to think of like what's the
great
farting
one.
corpse one? Oh yeah, Swiss Army Man. Yeah, he's been killing it. So yeah, I really like all of his projects after Harry Potter. Because I remember watching the original Harry Potter and being like, this kid is not very good. Especially next to the Emma Watson. Emma Watson, like she steals the original movie for me. She's just so good. But the other two kids, I'm like, at least they showed up. That's nice. But I also, speaking of what's poppin', I also watched a documentary last night. And I kind of wished I watched your documentary.
Oh.
So the documentary, I came home, I went and got pizza from a pizza truck, Sushan's favorite pizza truck. And I came back and she had already had it up on Netflix. And so, I sit down, I'm like, oh, what are we watching? It's a documentary. Tell Them You Love Me is the name of the documentary. Anna Stubblefield, an esteemed professor, becomes embroiled in a controversial affair with Derek Johnson, a nonverbal man with cerebral palsy that eventually leads to a criminal trial challenging perceptions of disability and nature of consent. Now, for anyone who doesn't get it, basically, Derek Johnson has cerebral palsy and he's nonverbal. He can't even really write for himself or type for himself. And so it's assisted communication. I forget what the actual term is, but it's basically assisted communication where there'll be a keyboard there for the person and the helper will sort of just help them get to the buttons they need to in order to type out the message that they want to share. And she maintains that, I'm sorry, she was his helper. She was a professor and actually came and did the assisted communication with him for him and wound up telling the family that they were in love and that they consummated their relationship, et cetera, et cetera. And so the family maintains that she abused this man, and she maintains that they were in love and that the family just didn't get it. And the problem with, even before this happened, I believe there was a study done on this assisted communication where it was sort of deemed that the people who were helping were kind of helping too much, even if it was subliminal, like subconsciously, they didn't realize they were doing it, but they were sort of typing out what they wanted to be typing as opposed to what the other person was typing. And so one of the tests is they would sneakily show the person who's being assisted a photograph of an object. And they would show the typer a photograph of a different object. And then they would ask, what is the object? And a lot of times it was the object that the typer was seeing, like, oh, it was a hat, and the person who needed the help saw a boat, and they wound up typing out hat. So yeah, even if they meant to or not meant to, that's sort of the problem. So it was a kind of a sad, depressing documentary that wasn't fun to watch. It was extremely interesting because I'd never heard of this before.
I haven't either. It's the first time I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, it was really interesting, but it wasn't a feel good. It's not like everything shook out for the best in the end, But I won't give it away, but it wasn't all gravy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Tell Them You Love Me on Netflix. If you've seen either of these documentaries, please email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com and let us know what you thought. Did you want to also talk about something else that was popping this week?
Yeah, literally today.
Yep.
I have COVID, so I'm sitting at home and I was just watching Bob's Burgers, and I decided to watch something new.
There are worse ways to spend your time.
love Bob's Burgers. I'm watching it almost constantly. It's like my comfort background show.
Nice.
But I saw Infinity Pool was on Hulu.
Hell
So I
yeah.
popped that on, and that was a trip. That was, I'm still processing that movie. And
It's my favorite Mia Goth role. She's so
she was incredible
unhinged in it. Oh my god.
I forgot she was even in that movie.
How?
Oh my
dude?
god.
She's
the only part of the movie that like I knew
weirdo.
about going in. I was like, I know Mia Goth's in this, so I'm gonna check it out. And her performance was insane.
And
She was
Alexander
so good.
Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of David Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, what did you think?
I liked it. It was nothing what I expected.
Mhm.
I don't even know what I went into it expecting.
Yeah, I had no idea what it was about when I went to go watch it, other than the poster, which was like someone's face just sort of like peeking up out of a pool of blood or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to go into a sci-fi movie, honestly.
I agree. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a sci-fi element.
Oh yeah, it's in his
threw me.
blood. It's in his blood.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, it's gonna be like a murdery horror thing that happens in like a small resort, and then there's this whole sci-fi part of it. I'm like, this is not what I thought. I thought it was really good. I really liked it.
Chris is asking, is that the Kristen Stewart Cronenberg body horror movie, or is that something else? That is something else.
Oh, what's the Kristen Stewart one?
That's Crimes of the Future. That's another really good one.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one's creepy as hell.
Crimes of the Future?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
Crimes.
I also really like Kristen Stewart. So
that one's on Hulu as well.
Oh.
With Viggo,
Viggo
Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Aragorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is David Cronenberg. So this is his dad.
That's his latest movie, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Super weird. I love it.
Nice. I like Kristen Stewart. She's one of those actresses who I started to appreciate after the Twilight movies.
So you just like actors after their popular franchise.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing. Did you also like Robert Pattinson after Twilight? And Harry Potter, because he was in both.
I'm still working on Robert Pattinson.
Come on, Good Time.
I haven't seen Good Time.
Oh, you got to watch that.
I saw Batman. The Batman.
You saw Tenet.
Which was just fun. Oh, he was really good in Tenet. You're right. He
was really good in Tenet.
I liked him in Tenet. You're right. I forgot. Yeah. Oh man, I can't believe Mia Goth was in Infinity Pool. Shit. Yeah, that's a weird one. I will tell the story that a friend of mine who will go unnamed and I got together to watch this movie and had a little bit of the devil's lettuce. And we watched the movie and it was great. And then I went home. And then I want to say months later, the trailer came up or something and they were like, oh, I want to see that. And I was like, we watched it together on your couch. Like, did we?
That's so funny.
I did not remember that at all. I had no recollection of even watching the movie.
And this is a crazy movie to watch in any kind of altered state.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. I would like to rewatch it in a less altered state.
I'm like, I'm feeling fuzzy because I'm jet lagged and sick. And I was having like a trippy time on
awesome.
Zero substances. And
well, the way the movie starts off with those crazy shots where the camera's twisting and stuff.
Yes.
Like, that made me so nauseous the first time I saw it.
Okay, me too. I thought it was just because I'm sick.
No, I think
was
it's very intentional. Yeah.
Christopher says, I really want to do a Kristen Stewart podcast called In the Stew, where you review all of her movies and the music videos that she's appeared in. She's been in music videos? I mean, wait, music videos for the soundtrack of the Glitter Vampire Twilight movies? Or is she in music videos that aren't related to the Twilight movies? Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm sure she's been in other videos. I wouldn't be surprised.
So Infinity Pool 2023, rated R, Brandon Cronenberg. Do you recommend it, Alice?
Yes.
Awesome. Great.
And I just watch it. Just don't go into it looking anything up. Just watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good little mind F. I don't know if I recommend Tell Them You Love Me. But if you like a documentary and being sad, sure, go for it. Let's see. Anything else? Was there anything else popping this week? Hey.
Yeah, what else?
Dylan.
Dylan, what's poppin'?
What's up? I watched, since we're on a sci-fi topic.
Yeah.
I watched a movie called Landscape with Invisible Hand.
What is that?
You
just made up a sentence.
I know, but it's real. You can look it up. I'm not
going
lying. It is on Amazon Prime, and it is a very interesting little sci-fi story. There's like two younger high school kids that are in the center, and there's like they have a cute relationship kinda, and I don't know, it was just a really interesting little, like, there's some nice world building. It's sort of like, again, the less you know the better.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
the description is, it felt very much the way it was, I heard about it, somebody's like, oh, it's kind of like a Black Mirror episode. That's what it felt like.
Ooh,
and
I
I
do
feel like
enjoy Black Mirror.
that's definitely pretty accurate, I would say. But it's basically aliens occupy Earth, and they just sort of are peacefully, we sort of welcome their technology because it's so much more advanced than ours. And so they're sort of always kind of peacefully surveying us and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
It's very interesting.
I see it's
Is
got...
there anyone that we'd recognize in it?
Yes. William Harper. Sheedy from...
Yeah. Is
from
that
The Good
that's
Place.
his name? The only person I knew by name was Tiffany Haddish.
And Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Michael Gandolfini of the son of James Gandolfini.
Huh. I don't know if I know.
You know James Gandolfini?
I know the name and I can't picture it.
I'm terrible with actors'
He
names.
was the very large man who played a lot of mobsters and was always breathing heavy.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking him up now.
Yeah,
He was Tony Soprano.
He's in The Sopranos.
Yeah. I was gonna say I know that name.
And he was also in one of my all-time favorite movies, True Romance. Love that fucking movie.
Oh yeah.
All right. I guess that's what's popping. So I'm the only one who watched the other movies that I'm going to be discussing tonight. You're welcome to hang out if you want.
I was going to say, do you want to talk at me about the movies?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll make it a little bit easier.
I'll hang out.
We do sign off with, I'll talk at you later.
Talk at me right now.
Chris says she's been in 3 music videos. I want to say one was Rolling Stones. One is Jimmy Lewis. And I can't remember what the other one is. Lewis one is the best. It's Brie Larson and Anne Hathaway. Oh. In a music video? Brie Larson and Anne Hathaway in a music video? Okay,
And Kristen
cool.
Stewart. I'm assuming they're all in the same one.
Nice. I forgot didn't finish making the notes. What are we talking about? Tonight is, so we're going to be talking about 2 things. The Crow remake.
Never mind, hold on.
And wait, hold on. All right. And now, and Alien Romulus. Both Lego sequels.
See, I still found a way to tie in the theme to my appearance, kind of. I usually try to wear a fun shirt that's related to whatever we're talking about.
Yeah. So instead you brought the entire popcorn bucket?
I just put my popcorn bucket behind me.
I'm going to be honest, Alice. I regret not buying myself that popcorn bucket. Dylan, as soon as I saw that there was like ridiculous popcorn buckets for Alien Romulus, I immediately drove the 5 blocks away to Main Street and picked up 3 popcorn buckets, 2 of which were the big xenomorph head, which very uncomfortable to eat any popcorn out of. And then there's that one on Alice's table, which is a Weyland-Yutani, what would you call that? What is that? Containment unit, where a face hugger has broken out and it lights up and it's fucking baller.
So cool.
That's
it's
badass.
so cool. I love it.
I'd eat popcorn out of that.
It looks like you can actually eat popcorn out of it.
Yeah.
Very awesome. So yeah. Oh, it's got a little handle. Oh, I know. It's just the lid.
Oh no, that's just the top that pops
open. I thought it had like a little handle.
That would be great if it had a handle now. Did you see, sorry, speaking of popcorn buckets, the Batman one?
Yes.
The bat signal?
It's a huge bat signal that lights up.
Oh yeah, I did see that. And I was like, is there a new Batman movie? But no, it's for like the 85th anniversary.
It's for the 85th anniversary.
Yeah.
I want it so bad.
So do
Popcorn
I.
buckets are back, baby. Ever since the Dune bucket.
That Dune bucket.
The Dune bucket, and
The
then
Dune bucket kicked it all off. Oh, I watched Dune also on the plane.
Oh, Dune 1 or 2.
I only watched the first one. I really liked it.
It's good, right?
The second one now.
Second one's even better.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard.
So, speaking of movies, I went and saw The Crow, which is based on James O'Barr's original graphic novel that came out in the early 90s, I believe. And it was starring Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee. And I think it was adapted to the screen by David Koepp, I want to say. And did he also direct it? But that then spawned maybe 4 sequels, 3 or 4 sequels that weren't very good, and a TV show that also wasn't very good. So the batting average for the Crow franchise is pretty low. It's pretty terrible. That being said, the original Crow was one of the touchstones of my post-adolescence in high school. Maybe it was 8th grade. I don't know. But yeah, high school. I want to say 2 or 3 years in a row as the Crow for Halloween. And the soundtrack's baller. Sometimes I still just put on the soundtrack on Spotify or whatever and just listen to it because it's so good. I actually did an art piece of The Crow. I did a sticker for my exclusive sticker club on Patreon. Love this movie. Top tier. It's the tits, as they say. Dane says, gotta say, I do love the face hugger popcorn bucket over the xenomorph one, right? I've got FOMO. And then I had heard that they were going to be remaking The Crow. So it's important to acknowledge that the original Crow movie was about a guy named Eric and a woman named Shelley. They were in love. They were together for quite a while. They were set to be married on Halloween and then were murdered on the eve before, which is called Devil's Night in Chicago. Here it's called, what's it called here?
People call it Mischief Night.
Mischief Night.
Yeah.
Mischief Night. And yeah. And then all of the sequels were about different folks having a traumatic experience to death and then being brought back by a crow to make the wrong things right, quote unquote. This movie, The Crow 2024, was to remake the story of Eric and Shelley specifically. This is not a new Crow. This is a reimagining of that original story. Christopher says they also re-released the Batman with extended footage for the new Penguin show. So this popcorn bucket, I heard it was being released because they're re-releasing Matt Reeves' The Batman. And that's how you can get the popcorn bucket. So I want to go get the Batman bucket. Anyway. So, soulmates Eric and Shelley are brutally murdered. Given a chance to save the love of his life, Eric must sacrifice himself and traverse the worlds of the living and the dead, seeking revenge. This remake, directed by Rupert Sanders, stars Bill Skarsgård, FKA Twigs, a name I had never heard or spoken before last week, and Danny Huston, who you may remember as the head vampire from 30 Days of Night, which was actually a pretty banging vampire movie. We saw the trailer for this. I think Noel and I had been watching a movie and they saw the trailer for this, and I wasn't tickled, but Noel thought it looked pretty good. He was pretty excited to see this movie, whereas I was cautiously optimistic. Maybe
I was excited to see it too, and I'm still sad I didn't get to go yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like having COVID was better. I will say that.
Damn.
So I'm sorry. That's rude.
Okay, my COVID this time around is pretty mild so far. Knock on wood.
Right. It's not like you're really suffering.
Last year I was when I got it for the first time. This
yeah.
time,
Oh, me too. Mine was awful.
it was brutal.
Yeah. Oh man. So anyway, yeah, The Crow 2024 came out this past week. And I went and saw it by myself, and I was really bummed because I would have loved to have either gone with you or Noel, because at least then there would be the camaraderie of the experience and like sort of like maybe, you know, just talking about it or making fun of it or all this other stuff. But it was really just me alone watching this movie and checking off a mental checklist of all the things that I hate about it and a couple of the things I liked about it. I will say before I get into spoiler, I guess I shouldn't do spoilers because nobody else here has seen it. Shoot.
I don't want to speak for Dylan. I don't mind.
There's also not much to spoil.
Yeah. I'm not going to go see it in theaters.
Okay. Okay. Things I liked about it. I feel like, no, I'll do things I don't like first. All right. So in the original
spoilers or no?
No real spoilers.
Okay.
Just sort of like overview stuff.
I don't care for me. I just wanted to warn everybody watching.
I want to say that, like I said, the original movie was about Eric and Shelley, people who had been together quite a while. You could feel that they had a connection, even though it's really, you only see them through flashbacks, that they had been living together for a while and were about to get married. This movie says, all right, what if instead of that, we have two people who meet each other in a mental health facility, break out, and then sort of have sex all weekend and do drugs, and then have them be murdered. So you don't get the feeling that this love is this bonding experience and that they're going to be in love forever and it was ripped away from them. It really just feels like we just had some sex and did some drugs and now we're dead. Which sucks, of course, but it really does not feel like something that would initiate a crow bringing your soul back from the dead in order
They call them soulmates in the description.
I do not get that at all. I think what I tweeted when I got home was that John, because this did have some John Wickian elements to it. I think I said, there was a more palpable and believable romance and chemistry between John Wick and his dog than in this movie. I don't think either of these characters are likable. They're clearly, they're not, I don't think they're supposed to be. They are supposed to be broken characters. They're not folks that you're supposed to want to hang out with. They're clearly struggling.
If they're broken characters, why don't they just get it tattooed on their forehead?
Yeah. Damaged.
Oh, damaged. That's what it is.
That was one of the first things I said. When I saw the trailer for this Crow remake, I was like, why is Jared Leto's Joker in this?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's decisions like that. There's also, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say, there is an entire sequence in an opera house where an opera is going on. And Eric is having a full-on murder spree, massive, loud gunfight in the hallway and on the steps of this opera house. And it keeps cutting to the inside of the opera house. And I keep waiting for people to be like, maybe we should get out of here. What's all the murder I'm hearing? At no point does anyone like notice the murders happening like outside the door. So it's stuff like that. The gore is really good. I will say there are some really cool bits.
That's what got me in the trailer excited. Like that's what got me excited. There's one part in the trailer I remember. I think it's in the opera house. He's sitting on this. He's like kneeling on the stairs and just getting like blown away.
Yes. Yeah.
But then like stands back up, and I'm like, this is cool. There's just like blood all over the stairs.
It is pretty cool that he's using a sword for some reason for some of this. It just differentiated, I guess. But I will say that Bill Skarsgård does. I saw this tweet that he just gets hotter throughout the movie, and I was like, that's true. That's true. He just starts off sort of like meek and kind of annoying, and then by the end of the movie, he's like super ripped and covered in blood and ink. And I'm just
that happens when you die. Cool. You just get really jacked.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So yeah. FKA Twigs. checked out some of her music before going to this. Oh, she's a pop star.
Mm-hmm.
I went and checked out some
Also,
of
I
her.
believe dated Robert Pattinson.
Oh,
Gonna
really?
bring up Robert Pattinson every time I can.
She
Yeah, and
did.
Shia LaBeouf, I
And
think,
Shia
and that was
LaBeouf,
not
yeah.
great.
Shia
Yeah.
LaBeouf was not nice to her.
I'm
And
clear.
also Mia Goth. Talking
Yeah.
about that, he
Yeah.
also was with Mia Goth and not nice to her either.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not a nice guy.
that sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Robert
can't.
Pattinson, though.
I
as far
can't.
as I know.
I can't recommend this movie to anybody.
I love FKA Twigs music personally.
Do
but
you? Wonderful. Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like very different style experimental pop, and then like she's a wonderful performer too. She does like a bunch of like pole dancing and like gymnastics and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Oh,
I
sick.
like live shows. That's cool.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I'll be honest, I only listened to the first 2 songs at the top of her Spotify playlist,
Mhm.
like the most streamed songs, and I was like, well, this isn't for me.
yeah, it's definitely not for everybody.
And it was like,
What's the genre?
It's definitely like modern experimental electronic pop type thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I might like that.
yeah. So I just, there was no chemistry on screen whatsoever, which is a shame. I'm trying to think of other positives that this, oh, and like the main bad guy is supposed to be immortal because he made a deal with the devil. And you're
Okay.
like, oh,
I was gonna ask that because I picked up on like something supernatural happening with him.
Yep.
In the trailer.
Yep.
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, okay, well, this would be cool. It'd be like super hard to kill this guy. And to quote another YouTuber, it was super easy, barely an inconvenience. Yeah, the way he went down was pretty easy. So I feel like they did put some effort into it. I think that Bill Skarsgård and FK Twigs did put some effort in. It didn't connect with me emotionally at all. And I'm just chalking it up to the other 2-star sequels that have come out since the original Crow. So I'm curious if anybody out there in chat land or in email land saw this Crow remake and enjoyed it. Please email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com and let me know, because I would like to know what you saw that I didn't. And also, did you see the original? What's that?
I still might go see it. I'm
hope
really
you love
curious.
it. I hope you love it. I hope you're like, this is the best shit ever.
Did you want to make fun of me?
Yeah.
Trying to be like, you have horrible taste.
Yeah, dummy. So yeah, I don't recommend it. However, I did see Alien Romulus. Bring up the bucket. There it is. There's the bucket. Starring Kaylee Spaney, Isabella Merced, Eileen Wu, Archie Renault, David Johnson, Spike Farron, and Daniel Betts. And it is directed by Fede Alvarez. So I was legit stoked for this movie because Fede Alvarez did one of my all-time favorite remakes, which came out of nowhere. I didn't expect to enjoy it at all. And I wound up, it's just top of the list for remakes for me for horror movies. He did the remake of Evil Dead.
Ah, yes, that's right.
God damn, that movie slaps. He also did Don't Breathe, which is another really good one. Also, is that Micah Monroe? Was she in that?
Oh, I love Micah Monroe.
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
no,
one
it's
about
Jane Levy.
the blind guy, right?
Jane Levy. What's that?
That's about the blind guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another good one. But yeah, the 2013 Evil Dead remake, where they sort of have a gender bent Ash and a whole new group of people go to the cabin. And it is, as much as the original 2 Evil Deads are a gore fest and over the top disgusting to comedic effect, this movie is that, but not to comedic effect. Other than watching it and being like, holy shit. It's kind of funny how awful this is getting. Have you seen Evil Dead Remake, Alice?
No, I haven't seen the remake. I've talked to you about it before. I know I need to see it.
So goddamn good.
I mean, I have time now. I have COVID. Maybe that'll even to watch.
Dylan?
No, but yeah, I'll add it to the list.
It's so good. It has one of the most gnarly finale fight scenes I've ever seen in my life. with the blood
Okay.
rain and everything. Oh, it's so goddamn good.
Hell yeah.
Dane is in the chat saying, I am here to support you, JD, for this Alien Romulus chat. Thank you, Dane. I appreciate that. He was in Hero Complex earlier, and I was lamenting how I'd be by myself. I didn't expect you to be here on the big screen, so thank you, Alice. And Dane and Christopher and everyone else is hanging out. So, Alien Romulus
right into the mic, but
came out this 2 weeks ago. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. Directed and written by Fede Alvarez, Dan O'Bannon, Rodo Sayugas. And this is another sequel of, I want to say, a franchise that I would have said previously had more misses than hits. But as I'm revisiting a lot of these movies, a lot of these Alien films, I'm actually quite enjoying a lot of them. Alien 1 and 2, obviously, some of the best films, horror films ever made. I think Alien
I was watching
1...
Aliens before this started.
Oh yeah, Aliens?
I didn't get all the way
good.
through it because it's such a long movie. So I'm like halfway through it.
Yeah, but
It's
that
so
movie's
good.
so good.
It's so
It's
good.
so good.
Yeah.
In the same way that Terminator has Terminator number 1 is a really good horror movie, and then Terminator 2 is a really good action movie. I feel like Alien and Aliens, same exact thing.
Yeah.
Alien, perfect horror movie. Aliens, perfect action movie. And
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely, yeah.
and 3 and 4, 3 has a varied history of being toyed with. It was directed by David Fincher. And I believe he disliked it so much he wanted his name taken off of it, but it had been so messed with that it was a completely different beast than sort of what they had gone in with. And so much so that I want to say Dan O'Bannon wrote the script for Alien 3. And because the movie is so different, they actually went ahead and released a graphic novel version of his original script for Alien 3.
Oh.
And I found out today, and I put it on my Audible account, they also did an audio play version of Alien 3.
Oh, sick.
Featuring a full cast of voice actors, including Lance Hendrickson, who played Bishop, I believe, in Aliens, who's the android.
Yes.
With the knife in the hand.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys grow up doing this with the knife thing? Like with a pencil or something?
Yeah, I was going to say we
Yeah,
never
I
did
did
it
it
with a
with
real
pencil.
knife. But
Yeah, I didn't have a knife.
Yeah.
I do it at work all the time with a scalpel. No, I'm kidding.
With a scalpel. When with a corpse's hand. I forget what I was going to say, but yeah, Lance Hendrickson, I just started listening to it. It's like a little over 2 hours long, and it's just an audio play of the original script of Alien 3. So cool. And Alien 4 Resurrection was kind of a mess. Wasn't a huge fan of that. But then Prometheus, while I didn't enjoy it, I do respect that it was trying something different. It was taking a franchise that had a very specific MO, and they were trying to just change it up a bit. And I know that wasn't well received at all. But as soon as I got home from Alien Romulus, I put on Alien Covenant, which is the sequel to Prometheus and a prequel to Alien.
Hosta watched that on the plane.
What do you think?
I think he liked it.
I loved it.
I can yell at him in the other room now.
That movie made me like Prometheus more.
Did it?
Covenant made me like, Covenant was like, because Prometheus, I was like, oh, like you had questions, like, okay, I see, like, it's still not very clear how you get to Alien, kinda.
Yeah.
And then it honestly, not really a spoiler, I guess, but even at the end of Covenant, like, you don't really see how you get to Alien either. Like, there's still a piece missing, and that's what I thought Romulus was going to be, but then I heard it's like a standalone story.
It is, yeah. Romulus, this movie, takes place in between Alien and Aliens. So in the interim...
Costa said he likes Covenant. I literally texted him. He's sitting in the other room.
Oh,
but I didn't want to
Costa.
scream into my mic. He's like, yes! Exclamation point.
Yeah, I really liked it, especially the other night. Like when I saw it in the theater, I was like, that was pretty good. But then the other night, I was like, that was gnarly. That was really good. And so I was watching a video about it, and a lot of my problems with Covenant was that these characters do really dumb stuff. And then I was watching a YouTube video about that movie, and it was like, y'all watch Star Trek all the time, and these people go to alien planets with no spacesuits, no helmets, no nothing. They just beam their shit down there and they just start breathing atmosphere, hoping that they're not going to get aliened, xenomorphed. And, you know, these people don't know they're in a horror movie. So, of course, they're going to do, you know. And I see he systematically goes through a lot of the decisions that I and many other people thought were kind of dumb for astronauts to do, for explorers to do. And he kind of like goes through the movie and is like, well, no. They said they checked the atmosphere. That's how they know, blah, blah, blah. You know, and he goes through systematically and kind of points out like all of those decisions that you thought were dumb were actually thought out. Chris says, not a huge fan of the Alien franchise. I've seen the original 4. Dan O'Bannon was also a writer on the original 79 Alien film. True. So anyway, this is a lot of preamble to get to 2024 Alien Romulus. This movie was awesome. I love this movie so much. Nice. I wish I could go back and see it again. From the very first shot of this movie, where it is complete black, you see nothing. And then you just kind of see the ship come in out of the darkness. And then the camera turns and you can't see anything again. And then you realize when the ship turns on its lights, its high beams, I guess, that it is now in front of a giant wreckage. And there's just floating wreckage everywhere that you can't see until they turn their lights on, their searchlights. And then the end of the movie is a reverse of that, of just we're going back out into this darkness. And I just love the bookend of those two shots and sort of how bleak it is. So like from the very first shot, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in good hands here. And then the cold open I thought was also very good. The big reveal right before Alien Romulus comes up was awesome. I think it ties into Alien, the first one, in really fun ways. There is a character who shows up. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but there is a character who shows up who has... the actor has passed already. And so this character has been CGI'd into the scene, their likeness. And so a lot of people were upset about that. And I was like, oh, I didn't mind. I thought it was pretty cool that he came back. Yeah. Not realizing he was dead. I forgot the actor had passed. And then I was like, oh, I guess that is kind of weird. But it turns out that the estate and the family of this actor were like, oh, love this. He loved being in these movies. He loved being an alien and would have been delighted to return for this. We're 100% sure. So go ahead. And the way this character is brought back works. And I won't say why, because it'll spoil who the character is. But it's one of the rare times that they've got a CGI version of an actor in a current movie after they're, posthumously, that I think works. Tarkin in Rogue One was horrible. Examples like that, I just not usually a fan of it. But here it worked. There are set pieces for this movie. I'm not going to spoil any of it because I want Alice and Dylan to go see it. But there are set pieces in this movie that take elements from the franchise that have been there this whole time, and they use them in a different way than I've ever seen. And the tension is really ratcheted up. They've got a built-in time clock, like this time bomb of a plot device where they have to get in and get out before a certain thing happens. It's just such a well thought out, what's the word I'm looking at? Well thought out addition to the franchise. Nice. I would say Alien Aliens, Romulus,
Nice.
and then the rest. And like I said, this does take place in between Alien and Aliens during the 50-something years that Ripley is asleep in hypersleep.
Yeah.
What else?
Does this one lean more horror or more
Yes.
action?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I've heard. Just wanted
It's
to hear
your
it from you.
basic like haunted house movie or like
Oh, shit.
slasher movie. Like we're stuck in this place and we have to figure out how to not die horribly in so many different ways.
See, I love that kind of movie, but I hate experiencing that in real life. I hate going to haunted houses.
Yeah.
But
Which-
like I love those kind of movies.
Every time you remind me of that, I'm flabbergasted that you don't like haunted house like attractions.
I went into a haunted house when I was way too young as a kid, and I think
It traumatized you?
I carry that with me. And then I tried again when I was still too young, and it went almost worse. They had to take me out the fire exit because I was making too much of a scene. My poor dad had to like carry me out the fire exit.
Oh.
I think I'm just like, nah.
It just it never bothered me because I know they can't touch me. Like, you know, there'll be things that'll like jump scare you.
I went in one, and then 7 when I tried again. It was the same haunted house. So I thought I would be good knowing what was coming, and I still wasn't good.
No, the people that worked there were like, oh, hell yeah, this girl again. Let's get her.
This little girl is going to be traumatized.
Let's see. With this movie, I thought it was decent until the end of the movie. Oh, in the same way with Alien 4, we got a new sort of xenomorph. You get a new sort of xenomorph here. I don't think it's every movie has either a neomorph or a something morph. There's always a new version of the xenomorph. And so this is no different. This also has a new version of the xenomorph, which I don't think that the design is spooky, and it does wrap up back to
Covenant
and Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah.
Yeah, so it actually ties all of those movies together.
Yeah, the thing that I was like, that I really didn't click with Prometheus at first was that, like, I was like, what? Like, there's so many ways you can get aliened.
Yeah.
And then Prometheus is sort of, I mean, Covenant sort of answered that. Like, this is why there's so many ways you can get aliened, pretty much. And then they don't really explain how they get to the facehugger stage, but you assume that. Well, I guess it does.
No, they do.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Facehuggers are in
Covenant.
Covenant.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you see your first facehugger in Covenant.
You're right.
Yeah. That's what I like about Covenant is I think it does answer a lot of the questions and it bridges that gap.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, okay, this actually answers the question that Prometheus left type thing.
You know what? Yeah. I was talking to Noel about Prometheus the other day, and I totally forgot because I was like, I'll go back and revisit it. I liked Covenant so much. Maybe I'll like Prometheus. And I had forgotten that Charlize Theron was even in that movie. And then at the end of the movie, that giant ship is like coming towards her to crush her, and she runs straight.
I know.
All you gotta do is run
go
left
to the side.
or right.
Yeah. Make
this
a
thing is
hard
coming
turn.
at her.
Yeah.
It's like falling.
Yeah, she wasn't great in that movie anyway. I don't think. No.
I do love
her, but I think she was kind of
misused.
Yeah. I definitely think her character was very flat.
Yeah. So, and Dane says, I do appreciate the new approach / way they use the face huggers. There's a very tense scene with the face huggers, like a whole room filled with face huggers.
What is it? Or is it a spoiler?
What's that? What is it?
What's the new approach? Just
having to make your way through a room filled with face huggers.
Like trying to get through them. Okay.
Yeah. They also do a very cool move with the acid blood that an alien has and how to avoid that. God damn, it's just so cool. I really want to revisit it. Also, you get a interesting look at the Weyland-Yutani miners and all that. So like Aliens is well known for being sort of like space trucker, blue collar horror movies, right? So like everybody except for Prometheus, where it's like, oh, Weyland, who's a billionaire, you know.
Yeah, and it's like scientists essentially.
Yeah. most of the Alien films are about sort of almost space truckers, like haulers and scrappers and stuff like that. And you find out kind of what happens to their kids. Like once you are working for Weyland-Yutani, the big corporation that's sort of creating these monsters, your kids are also kind of indentured servants, and you have no choice but to work for them until you paid it off. And so this movie is about a group of kids that are trying to sort of escape the clutches of this corporation and just like strike out on their own, and become their own people. And so this is basically, the beginning of this is a heist movie. So yeah, it's very, very cool. There's so many great elements to this movie. Do you
need to see all the other Alien movies
to
enjoy this?
Not at all. But if you have, there are a ton of things in this movie that you'll be like, "Ooh, what, ha." Especially with the end, and the new version of the xenomorph ties back directly to one of the other films. But you don't need to know that. But you might be like, "Why does that xenomorph look so weird?" Yeah. Oh, Costa's in there. Recently started playing Alien Isolation. Worth the play. Costa, my man. That game is so goddamn good. Because Sushan was asking me, we're brushing our teeth, and she was asking me, so when does this movie take place? And I was like, oh, okay, it takes place between Alien and Aliens. And I was like, oh, I think Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, is in hypersleep for like a good 50 odd years. And I'm pretty sure, because I haven't seen Aliens in quite a while, I was like, I think she's in there so long that her daughter grows up and dies before she wakes up, which is exactly what happens. And in Alien Isolation, you play as her daughter, Amanda Ripley, during the interim between Alien and Aliens. It's awesome. Cool. And that it's a first person shooter, which is not usually my cup of tea, but it is so taut and thrilling, and it makes your heart beat. It's so good. Alien can pop out at any time, and they're really tough to kill. Ooh. I would like to rewatch or replay Alien Isolation. It's so good. Oh wait, was that a spoiler? Oh, which part was a spoiler? Come over and play. Aw, Costa. That's nice.
Costa, I have COVID. He can't. That's why we're video chatting. I can't be here.
You know, I forgot to. I was like, maybe I will.
You're like, all right, I'll come on over. And I'm like, no.
Ronnie Strike is in the chat. So you newbies don't know who Ronnie Strike is. Ronnie Strike is old-time friend of the show. Hey, JD, the horror aspect made up for the most eye-rolling, groan outload moment that, quote, ugh. Ronnie, you are 100% correct. And I was listening to the Slash Filmcast, and they had a good point. I was like, you could get rid of that whole line. Like, I don't want that line in the movie. But they were talking about that quote, and they were like, just leave off the last two words and it would be okay. Because there is one callback in this movie that is so egregious and really eye-rolling. A character says the exact same thing another character in a future movie says. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the movie happened in the past to us, but to these characters, it's in the future. There is no reason for this character to say this thing.
Say that. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I agree, Ronnie. That was awful. We can divide the apartment in half, says Costa.
That's kind of what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah. So Ronnie, did you like the movie otherwise? Because I sure did. I can't wait to see it again. It's gonna be one of those ones that I revisit. And I'll tell you what, this is one of those, it's a slasher movie basically, but this is one of the ones where I'm actively rooting for our protagonists. No, I'm rooting for both of them. But no, I'm rooting for the xenomorphs. I'm rooting for the protagonists. These, they're all early 20s kids who are just trying to get away from this company, and you don't get to know all of them to the degree that I think we could have gotten to know them, but enough of them, you really start rooting for them. And there is a defective synthetic in this movie, and the actor who plays the synthetic is so goddamn good. What was his name? David Johnson, with no H and 2 S's. He plays Andy the synthetic. So yeah, highly recommend this movie. I would say this is like 4 out of 5 stars for me. Whereas Alien and Aliens are all 5 stars. So yeah. The actor who played Andy did a phenomenal job, says Dane. Yes. The amount of, because that character goes through a metamorphosis during this movie, and he nails every angle of the character's development. He's so good. Great to see your face, says Ronnie. Thanks. Glad you're still doing what you do. Yeah, it was a great setup and it was a cool twist here and there. I'm glad you liked it. What Ronnie or anybody in the chat, give me your top 3 Alien movies. Tell me which are your top 3. Ooh. And does this make that? Because this is, Alien, Aliens, and then Romulus for me. I think that's kind of it. I can't really talk about much else without spoiling it. Just suffice it to say there are really harrowing action sequences in this, and really harrowing thrill sequences in this. And it's pretty gross at times, which is nice. So yeah. Anything else? What else? Should we talk about anything else? What time is it? It's 9:07. What else you got, Alice? Anything? While we're waiting for Ronnie to respond.
Oh, so I actually had a question I didn't know if you'd know the answer to, about a different slasher franchise that we both love. Scream, of course.
Never heard of it. Go on.
So on the plane, I watched Scream. They had all of the Scream movies except for 4. Do you know why that would be?
No, I have no idea.
I was so mad because I watched 1 and I was like, I'll watch 4 now. That's my second favorite. And that's the only one they didn't have.
That's so weird.
And I'm like, is there a
rights
licensing thing? I'm like, I don't know what streaming network they're using. Anyway, that was...
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that.
I was wondering if I was just missing something. I'll have to look it up.
I will. Speaking of Scream, though, I wasn't going to do it, but since we're here and you brought it up, Christopher Goodnight sent us a gigantic email about Scream. So, we're just fuck it. We're just going to get into it.
Sorry,
right after.
Every time it's just us, we're going to talk about Scream.
And Scream, right? We can't stop. Costa says Independence Day. God damn it, Costa. Ronnie says his list is Alien, Alien 2, and then Covenant, right? Nice. Covenant's really good. I was really surprised at how good that was. And then Dane says Aliens, then Alien, then Alien Romulus. Nice. Oh, for people who like Aliens, there is a What If Marvel comic right now called What If Aliens, and it's about God, what is his name in Aliens 2? The real prick who betrays them. Played by the guy from Mad About You. Shit. Dead air while I look this up.
Doop
doop doop doop doop.
Paul Reiser is the actor.
Wait, what's his name?
Paul Reiser is the actor.
Paul Reiser. So yeah,
I
it's
forget
basically
his name in the movie, but
a what if comic about that character from Aliens. Burke. Thank you, Dane.
Yeah.
Burke. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check it out. Also, I can't believe I even need to say this yet. Alien versus Avengers came out this week by John Hickman, one of my all-time favorite comic book writers, and Asad Rabish, who is an awesome comic book artist. This is a top-tier Alien comic where it's Alien versus Avengers. And at first I went, who cares? It's the Avengers. None of them are gonna die. No one's gonna get chest bursted. Unless it is a multiversal Elseworld story where it's not the main 616 Marvel. So everyone's fair game, which is awesome.
Oh, I love that.
Check out Alien versus Avengers, which came out this week. Issue 1 dropped. I want to say it's probably 4 or 5 issues when it's all done. So all right, Christopher St. Saucy's goodnight email, and then we'll get out of here.
It's more than just the picture with the bangs.
Oh, yeah.
That's Scream why I laughed so hard when you brought it up.
No,
I know
this is an entirely different email.
Oh, okay.
I can do a whole episode of Scream with me and Alice and Noel and you if you want to zoom me in, but I will also write this email.
Yeah, you know what? It's true. If we're going to do a Scream episode, Noel has to be here.
Yep. Scream 3 was the first one I saw in theaters, so it's nostalgia.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
That's also part of the reason why I love 4 so much. It was the first one I saw in theaters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Chris had come in, had emailed us and let us know that Scream 3 was his favorite Scream movie, to which I said, bullshit. Because that is the worst Scream movie. But knowing that it was your first Scream, I get it. Okay.
That makes sense. Valid.
It's also the first one I saw without knowing who the killer was.
Okay.
All right.
That's also really the same thing with me with 4. Seeing all the other ones, I already knew what was going to happen because they were out for a while.
I will say I saw Scream 1 in theaters opening night, and that shit blew my mind. I couldn't believe who the killer was. I guess it's not a spoiler, killers. And then 2, I was surprised by the killers, but I didn't care. I really didn't like Roseanne's sister, who's Billy Loomis's mom.
Roseanne's sister.
I just knew her as Roseanne's sister from the Roseanne TV show. And then the third one, the reveal was so goddamn, like, what's the soap opera ridiculous. Like, oh, it's a secret brother that no one knew about. Shut the fuck up. Okay. I also like how Scooby-Doo-ish it is, Scream 3. And looking back, it's Me Too before Me Too. They knew what a piece of shit the producer was, and this was the writer calling them out. Also, Carrie Fisher and Jay and Silent Bob. So
I do love the Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, she's great. I hate that Jay and Silent Bob are in this movie, but I do like that it is Me Too before Me Too, that it was actually making a statement about Hollywood and how it feasts on young actors and actresses that are coming there and then just spitting them out. And a great performance by the killer both before and after they are unmasked. And Parker Posey is phenomenal. I will say Parker Posey is phenomenal. With the first one, I wasn't big into horror at the time, but I kept seeing the trailer, and so I asked my brother who the killer was because I assumed it was David Arquette due to him holding the mask in the trailer. My brother told me no and spoiled me on everything. When I watched the movie, I was shocked at how bad Billy and Stu were at hiding their guilt. I don't care about the big death at the beginning because I have no love or nostalgia for that actress. I will say, one of the fun things about Scream 1 is that Billy and Stu are clearly the killers.
And you think it's a red herring the whole time.
You're like, it's so clear that they're the killers that there's no way they're the killers. So they make you second guess it by giving you kind of the answer. And also, I just love the sequence where they're in the VHS, like the blockbuster.
Oh my God, and Randy's working.
Oh, it's so great.
And then they're like about to murder Randy.
Yeah. And make out. They're about to make out and then murder Randy. With the second one, I made him tell me again. I can't remember if he told me both characters or not, but I knew watching the movie that it was Billy's mother. Still, it was some great performances from both killers, and it was more Liev Schreiber as Cotton. I do love Liev Schreiber as Cotton. Cotton Weary. It does overhype a certain line in Aliens, which subsequently ruined my enjoyment of that movie when I saw it, but still, the climax of the movie, which basically starts with Dewey and Gale combing through the footage all the way through that epic crane shot of Sid handing things off to the hero with the great final music. 2's fatal flaw is making Randy an incel before there was a word for it. I'm still not over Randy's death. With 4, great gag opening with the 2 openings of stab movies and then the real opening.
So good.
And a fantastic performance by the killer after Sidney is presumably killed. 5, I love at least one of the killers, and I like a lot of the ideas. I think some of the actors weren't great, but the ones that stuck around were improved in 6. Also, it has 2 great songs that I immediately downloaded on iTunes upon leaving the theater.
Nice.
With 6, I love the opening, but I think one of the killers was great, and I think one of them had the worst line ever in Scream history. I think the apartment scene is fantastic. The ladder scene, I love that.
Yeah.
I could spend hours in the shrine, and it leaves me longing for the days for DVD extras. I agree with a lot of this. Yeah. Yeah, man. I want to go watch some more Scream. God damn it,
okay,
Alice.
Well, now, all right. One more thing about Scream. Sorry.
Go on.
So I rewatch Scream multiple times every year. It's just like one of the movies. It's my comfort movie.
Comfort movie.
So I watched it on the plane because I'm an anxious flyer and it's my comfort movie. And I'm noticing while I'm watching it, something that's probably really obvious that I've never noticed before is how similar Cotton Weary looks to Billy Loomis. Have you ever noticed?
No.
There's a shot when they show him in a police car and he has the same greasy, slicked back hair as Billy.
Interesting.
And the whole story is Sydney thought she saw Cotton leaving wearing his coat after murdering her mom, but it was really Billy. And then there's a part right before Billy gets fake stabbed where she's looking at him and she just goes, "Oh my God." And then she goes, "Oh my God, someone's behind you." So I think she's clocking that he looks like Cotton because he's like, "Do you really think I could be a killer?" And she looks at him and he's like, "Oh my God." And then it's before you see Ghostface behind him. And then she goes, "Oh my God, he's behind you." And
Alice, thank you.
I watched Scream way too much.
Legit, since what, 96 when that movie came out? Since the movie first came out, I've never been able to grok why she does that first. Oh my God.
Okay, me either. And then I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, it's because his hair like falls in his face just like Cotton's. And I'm like, oh, it's because he looks like Cotton.
That's awesome. Thank you. That has been haunting me. That has been haunting me. Oh man, I gotta Google that and see if that's what that is.
I gotta see. I haven't looked it up yet to see if it was true.
Yeah, the first realization, oh my God, and I'm like, why does she do that? What about him is making her do that? That's awesome. That's what I'm going with from now on. Ronnie says, I begged my mom to take me to see Alien. I will never forget how much she screamed at the chest burst scene.
Oh, that's still to this day is so traumatic to watch. Yeah. It's so good. It's such good body horror. It's insane.
So I think it must have been on TV or something when I was very little and my parents were watching it or something. And maybe I was like up at the top of the stairs, like it's bedtime, but I'm not supposed to be watching, but I'm like at the top of the stairs trying to watch the TV. And I see that scene. And for years I was like, what was in that salad? I thought, because he's eating a salad or eating food.
JD never ate another salad.
Yeah. And I was like, forget it. Lettuce will murder you. So yeah, for the longest time, I thought it was something he ate that did that. And
that's so funny.
Is Scream considered the first self-aware horror flick or start of that genre? I will say that is the start of that genre, but I don't think it's the first self-aware horror flick. But it definitely brought it to the forefront and just changed horror in the 90s for over a decade. First self-aware horror movie. Let's see what Google tells us. What is it's the very first horror movie. Scream broke all the rules. Self-referential horror. Cabin in the Woods. Have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
Yes.
Oh my God. That's another
so good.
One. I feel like, all right, here's what I will say. I feel like it's probably the first self-referential horror movie that is actually a horror movie. I feel like anytime it was done before this, it was probably to comedic effect. Like it was a movie referencing being a horror movie, but it was more of a comedy, right?
Yeah.
So Monster Squad, right? Because Monster Squad, have you ever seen Monster Squad?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. You know the Goonies?
Yeah.
It's basically the Goonies if they met the Universal Monsters. It's a group of kids. It's an 80s movie. It's a group of kids who have to fight Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, Wolfman. The Wolfman's got nards. Have you ever heard that quote? Wolfman's got nards.
Okay, yes.
That's from Monster Squad.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that was definitely a self-referential one because they know about the horror characters that they're meeting up with. So at least that one. And of course there's Young Frankenstein, but that was a comedy.
Yeah.
So anyway, he looks way different in the first movie. Oh, I guess he's talking about Cotton Weary.
Cotton Weary. Yeah, he has a totally different haircut the rest of the movies that he's in.
Damn it. Well done, Alice. Thank you. So yeah, that's it. I think we got our Scream chat in, which is what we always have to do.
We do have to do like a whole Scream episode with Null. I would love that.
I wish we could just do a Scream podcast. It would only be 7 episodes. I guess that's it. We're done. We did it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me with your COVID. I really appreciate it. I was super nervous about having to do this by my onesies. So thank you.
I'm
and
glad
Dylan,
I was here.
Thank you for being awesome as always. I appreciate it.
Of course, always here for you, bud.
So I guess next week, for those of us who want to join, those of you who want to join us next week, I think we're going to try to do at least one of the things that Christopher Knight has mentioned, Blink Twice or Strange Darling. I'm going to go watch the trailers to both and we'll figure out which one we want to do. But I think, Christopher, I think that we're going to try and do one of those.
As long as I get over this COVID.
Well, yes.
I'll try to go. I'll try to go see.
And then Pink Apocalypse emailed us as well, but that's a question more for the group of us. So I'm going to remind me to read that next week. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This was awesome. This was a blast. I had a really good time. Thank you so much. And we will talk at you later.
YUNKJunk!